Are live and welcome to Pro Wrestling Inside Now. Yes, you are correct. We do not have an opening because we're on this new streaming service and I have not figured out how to bring it over
Hold it,
here.
hold it. I've got something they can all relate to.
There,
There we go. Time to start.
we are ready to start talking about professional wrestling. Tony Khan, $100 million. I've heard that he has invested into AEW, All Elite Wrestling. Uh, Man, that seems like a lot of money for a company for 4 years who have not even made a profit yet. That's sad, isn't it?
It's, I think his checking account's almost as negative as mine.
That just
Well, the thing about it is his main contributor there, his consultant Dave Meltzer, has now come to the conclusion that now AEW is worth $1 billion. All right, but he hasn't recouped the 100 million that he's invested. So how in the world can they say, well, oh, it's worth $1 billion, but he hasn't made his money back yet? That seems strange to me.
How many
Then
times did we say over the years that is the most expensive wrestling ring I've ever seen anybody buy?
I'll just tell you, every week Meltzer just gets worse and worse. He needs just to come out and say, "I'm a paid consultant of AEW." He stooged himself off a few weeks ago, saying that he texts directly to Tony Khan, so he is a consultant, and he should just come clean with it.
we should. James Brown said we weren't on Facebook, but I think we should be on Facebook unless I did not do it correctly. Yes, we are on Facebook.
Yeah, we're there.
We are on Facebook. Probably was just a little behind, a little behind. Because on this particular program, we're on Twitter right now. We are on Facebook, two different Facebook
Uh,
accounts.
we're on X.
X. I'm sorry, I forgot that was not Twitter.
X marks the spot.
Uh, Other things going on in the professional wrestling, and we talked about this just a little bit, but the people got a little upset that Triple H called AEW on. I guess it was the Cody Rhodes show, or his documentary or whatever they have on him. That he said that he didn't want to be a champion in a secondary rate wrestling company. But wouldn't they be the secondary wrestling company? I mean, they certainly wouldn't be the first one, would they, Jack?
Uh, Profits, viewership, everything combined. Yeah, they're still secondary.
It's funny when you portray yourself as the secondary. They always talk about their competition. And if you remember last year when Ms. JF won the championship and he double crossed William Regal on television, they basically accepted the fact that they were not up to that to their level. They allowed that to go out. Tony Khan allowed that to go out on his show. And I'm really talking loud again, aren't I? Let me turn that down a little bit more. But yeah,
No,
he's
you started.
no. They accepted the fact that they are secondary. Myself, more like second rate. All right, not secondary. They should accept the secondary. It should, but it's actually second rate. A cheap imitation. Well, not as cheap with $100 million. A very expensive imitation of what's the original. Why watch the copy when you can watch the original? Why watch the copy? And still to this day, you look on the internet, name one wrestler they're talking about. On every show, people are concerned about why Austin Theory didn't have a championship match at SummerSlam. What's going on with the Big E? Where is he at? He's still injured. It's a terrible situation with him. Probably unlikely he's going to be returning anytime soon. They're talking about, LaKnight. Everybody should be excited that LaKnight finally won something. He won the Battle Royal. That's what everybody's been so concerned about LaKnight. What's going to happen to Brock Lesnar after what direction they're going to go with Brock Lesnar? Notice they're not talking about anybody from AEW. Not one, except for Dennis Condrey showing up at AEW. That's about it. That's about
What's
it.
he doing in South
All right,
Carolina? Jack,
Who, Dennis?
yeah.
He makes a lot of these conventions, and I mean, if you pay Dennis to come, Dennis will go.
So he was just there, probably in town, and he just dropped by All Elite Wrestling. Do you think people knew?
Yeah, he was part of the gathering this weekend. I think that was in Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
That's a big, huge deal.
Well, think about it. SummerSlam. Let's say this: SummerSlam, $8.5 million gate, $7 million in sponsorship. They're not hurting. All right, they're not hurting any way, shape, or form. Great stuff.
No, and I think
from what I
attendance
saw, very
was,
successful show.
yeah, attendance was, I think, 58,000 and something. And even with the way WWE inflates the numbers a little bit, we're still talking in excess of probably 54,000 anyway. So, you know,
Well,
Right.
let's talk about inflation. Wow. I'm sorry. There's nothing I'm going to pay $400 to see. I'm sorry. There's not. Even if I'm not, I'm just not.
did you see the WrestleMania package? WrestleMania package. I don't know if it was front row or close. It better be front row for this price. But I think it includes everything. The 2 nights. I think all the access stuff, everything. $21,000.
Whoa, my God.
Only.
You know, I could go on a good cruise
thank you.
for that. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna choose Carnival. I'm gonna choose fun because man, you could go.
You talk about inflation.
5 cruises for that.
Yeah, you want to talk about inflation. Let's talk about AEW and their supposed deflation in Tampa at their last Dynamite show. My understanding, and those of you, if I'm wrong, I wasn't there. I haven't watched the show, but they had like 4,200 people, and I noticed they're not saying sold tickets; they're calling them distributed now. It's in these articles. It's never about sold tickets. It's about what they've distributed, which I assume means free. Okay, so they start off. My understanding, that show starts at 6:30. It went on till 11 something at night. Okay. By the end of the evening, the arena was empty. The last match, the main event, was the women's match. All right. And they slowly but surely, and if you're paying for something, normally don't you stay to the end? So I assume these people were, in fact, freebies. And so they said, we're not staying around anymore for this. We're getting out of here. Jack, did you hear this about Tampa?
I did.
I mean, we understand. We've learned our lesson about long shows, have we not? We know after even if they pay after 2 hours 15 minutes, people are tired and they're ready to go. And so make sure to get it on, and never have your main guy go out and say thank you and good night, because then people will get up and leave as well. We had that happen in Chattanooga. So, but I found that to be interesting. That by the end of the show, that there was literally nobody left in the stands at AEW. I guess they kept, as those stands were empty, they kept turning the lights off in those sections. But I found that to be funny, and it leads me to believe that we're seeing a propaganda campaign, mostly by Mr. Meltzer, giving us the illusion, and we've seen this in the wrestling business before, where tremendous amounts of advertisement is spent, tremendous amounts of bringing more talent in. It never does any better than normally what it does, and gives you the illusion that everything is going very well, when in fact, when you get to the bottom line, you've done all that advertisement, brought in extra talent in, and in the end, you lose money. And that might be the case here, being that out of $100 million, 4 years, and quote, $1 billion company, he hasn't made his money back yet. And maybe we're seeing just that. He's padding it. They're giving it away. They're not it's all smoke and mirrors. And in his case, smoke and mirrors is different than what we think it is.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask y'all this question, because, I had Joe Koff, which was the guy that ran Ring of Honor for a long period of time. I had a conversation with him at the beginning of AEW, and I asked him, I said, did you not use some of this same talent? And he said, yes. I said, but you wasn't doing 10,000 people. how are they doing this? He said, I'm not for sure how they're doing this because it is the same exact talent we have. I don't know. Were they from the beginning giving tickets away?
I would assume so. That's my impression, that what we're seeing is just mostly a propaganda campaign. Give the illusion. I'm not saying that because supposedly they've going to break the record at in Wembley Stadium in London. Supposedly, again, all this information comes from the consultant Dave Meltzer, who says, okay, they're actually going to beat the attendance record for Andre versus Hulk Hogan from WrestleMania 3. This company has got AEW, got WWE on the brain so bad. If Vince McMahon should ever stop very, very quickly, there are about to be broken necks everywhere.
Jack, let me ask you this question.
Let's call Tony and see what Vince had for dinner today. He can be able to tell us.
Let me ask you this question about a little bit about Dave Meltzer, a little bit.
Go ahead.
There is something not completely on the up and up when it comes to him, because he knocks WWE a lot, but doesn't really ever say anything bad about AEW. So are we trying to say no product, nothing they do in AEW is horrible, and everything WWE is he not showing that he's just biased against WWE, and he's just
clear favoritism there anyway. Now, as to whether he's on the payroll for him to do this, I don't know. I think surely that if he is, he could afford to have a house cleaner come in. But with Dave, I don't know. He has had a long-held grudge against WWE, and I don't know where it stems from, but it's so obvious to anybody that reads it. Now, if you're an AEW fan and you're reading his reviews and opinions, you're going to love Dave because he likes what you like. But like we've said, they have apparently maxed out on their fan base here because the ratings are stagnant. They're not going up. They drop occasionally, but they come back to that standard that they have. So there's something missing that Uncle Dave is just not telling everybody the truth out there about the struggles that AEW is going through.
Is it possible? Is it the WWE one of the ones that banned his rag sheet when he was doing the rag sheet?
I know he was. It was.
All right, so that could be, and he might have been thrown out, which I would have thrown him out too.
Yeah, but now to be fair, they threw everybody out, and there was a bunch of them. And to his credit, Dave has been one of the few to remain relevant. But I always refer everybody to pwinsider.com if you want real news. Mike Johnson and his crew are very truthful, very straight to the point. They criticize if criticism is necessary for any promotion. They will give you fair assessments. I do not log in nor pay a penny per day.
Hey, you know what? I do like what is it? What cultural wrestling? Is that what it's?
What a culture! Yeah,
that's a pretty good, and they pretty well are across the board. Any wrestling company they watch, what they
and there's some good ones out there, but basically what they're doing is re-reporting from PW Insider.
I see. There's the source. I see. Right. Now, my other question I have to ask is: anyone believe the Young Bucks were actually ever considered going to WWE?
I think the consideration was there. I think the realistic or the reality of it is that they were not going to be pushed the way that they're pushed in AEW. So and I think that they operate off of a lot of ego because they're going out there and basically giving free reign to do whatever they want to do. And WWE is not going to do that. They're going to put you in your lane, and you pretty much better stay there.
Well, I say that they were never going there. This was all publicity for them to say, oh, well, it's possibly we're going to jump ship. When we're still on the other show, if you're in negotiations, the possibility you're going to jump ship, they're going to pull you off the show. Plus, the part of leg slapping super kickers are already been filled by the Usos. So they don't really need another team like that.
Hey, did you see where one of those guys? I don't know which one they are. Maybe is one of them called Matt? One of them go.
Matt Jackson.
Matt Jackson. Did you see where he said without them, without the young bucks, that All Elite Wrestling just couldn't survive? Did you some similar to something like this? Now I'm pretty sure. I'm hoping he was just joking. I mean, I'm hoping.
No, I did not see that, but that does not surprise me.
I read that.
Now you've got Cody. You've got Cody on the other show saying that he's the face of Monday Night Raw, and that he has suffered at the hands of the scheduling of the WWE. Now he said that. I didn't say that. He said that, and you could think that, and I can see that because he could see the sacrifice of being away from his family. So much so that after the match, Brock Lesnar had to shake his hand. You know that he had to do that. I said, I could see your sacrifice. You had to be away from your family tonight. Okay. And now I see it. I see it. And everybody should just be pleased and grateful to Cody for just showing up to these towns, knowing the sacrifices that he's been making.
Let's see.
Terrible. Terrible.
Let's talk about a little bit of different news. Have y'all so happened to see the WWE type of melee that happened in Montgomery, Alabama, on the next to the
was it boat dock? Is that what you're talking about?
Where the guy took a chair and WWE headshotted a woman.
Well, and before he got to the woman, he hit some guy like 4 or 5 times in the head with it, and then goes over to this woman that's, she's part of the group that brought all this on. And when I saw the chair swinging, I automatically got a concussion just seeing it.
Was it a Bobby Eaton style?
Oh,
I've got to see this. I've watched the guys.
It was full swing, but unlike Bobby, he didn't pull it.
No.
Poor little woman was laying on the ground, and he was just kept on that. Well, Ricky Smiley's show, they interviewed the chair. Very, very, very funny skit. So if you get the opportunity, go to YouTube. Ricky Smiley interviews the chair during this. It was very entertaining. I just thought that was very interesting. And they did say a lot of the things said. Well, WWE melee breaks loose in a chair.
I've got to see it. I've watched the two guys that was in the 7-Eleven in California. By the way, they're going to probably prosecute the two guys that had the guys robbing the cigarettes at the 7-Eleven. And they they held him down and they took a stick to him.
I saw that.
There. Oh, it was awesome. I have watched that many times. I believe the guy that was filming was with him, by the way. I think he was in on it. But anyway.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Stop me? Yeah, they did.
They sure did. Oh, it was great. That guy held him down, and I mean, he was hitting the legs in first. He was hitting the legs and the ankles, and then he turned over and put his rear end up, and they fired him up. That old guy just kept throwing in there.
You know, it was funny because they said the WWE melee happened, and that's what they talked about a lot during that. And I bet Tony Khan was very upset because it didn't say an AEW melee. And they were probably, but
well, there was no color involved.
That's true.
Let's talk a little bit about the $1 billion company for a minute. they evidently gave Tony Khan in a 5-year period $1 billion for the product that he's producing for the Warner Brothers. Is it Warner Brothers Discovery?
Right.
Is that the name
Yeah.
of the company? They give him $1 billion. They're giving him as much money for that product than WWE gets for their product. Is there something said about Warner Brothers? Are they the ones who are wanting to really compete for whatever reason against Vince McMahon?
Well, I think it's a collaboration because we've known from day one that Tony wants to compete with him. He's never been shy about that. And a part of you has to admire the fact that, hey, this guy coming in with no experience wants to take on the biggest company that's ever been in professional wrestling, and he wants to go head to head with them. And that's admirable. It's commendable. He needs a pat on the back, but he needs a kick in the butt too. To rethink a lot of the things that he's doing.
No storylines, basically, in his product. If you look at WWE and you go back to booking in the territory days, and we can go all the way back to Georgia Championship Wrestling and the stories they told with Tommy Rich and Buzz Sawyer. It started with a wrestling match on television. It went to Chattanooga, Tennessee. It became a fight, and it just went on, and it just built and built and built. The same thing they did with the Usos and the Bloodline, the whole thing with them. Great storytelling. And you would think, okay, this is the story they're telling. What they had the ability, AEW had the ability. They had CM Punk coming back. What a story they could have told, and just didn't even take advantage of a story that they could have told him that. And, and all these guys, and if they said, well, no, I'm not going to work with CM Punk, they should have said, well, whoever decides they don't want to work for CM Punk, they should have fired him. Because it was just there. It was just, they had the ability to do a good storyline and then move past it. They could move past it. They didn't have to do it for a long period of time. But what ratings he would have received just off of that alone. But I don't know. Have they done anything with CM Punk since he's been back?
Well, no.
So
no, and I have not watched the Collision show. Not even the first time. Football's coming up, college football. Whatever ratings they're doing, and I haven't looked at ratings in a month or so, but they're going to tank. Yeah. I mean, there's far more football fans out there than wrestling fans right now. So I think that's a bad idea, but I have not. I've read some of the stuff of what they're doing, and it just seems to be just like Dynamite. There's no real storytelling going on. Punk has lost twice, 2 matches, and they haven't built off anything from those. And when your top guy gets beat, you should have something coming out of that. Yeah. But it just seems like, okay, well, I'm off to the next guy.
I told Dusty Rhodes one time in WCW, I said, man, your pay-per-views are magnificent, but the TVs leading up to it just random acts of crap. Because he wasn't building anything. And I don't know that it wasn't because Dusty didn't know what to do. He just had so many hours of television to fill that he didn't really know. He knew how to book Florida Championship Wrestling, where every Saturday morning it was Wednesdays, wasn't it? They did TV on Wednesday nights. On Wednesdays, he knew he did TV there, and whatever he did, I think to a certain extent, those guys like Dusty Rhodes, Bill Dundee, and all, they didn't know. They knew how to book weekly, but I'm not for sure they knew how to book it when it needed to be booked a month from now. Would that be a problem? Would that be a problem for somebody like Dusty or Jerry Lawler that had booked the same way for 20 years?
I think the problem probably was that instead of booking a territory, you were booking basically a whole country. because, you know, the product was going everywhere at that time. It is harder. But that's why you would bring other people on deck, you know, and have your committee there, but you still have to have that one booker that's over everything. So I don't know if there was a lack of doing that, or what really it was, because Mid Atlantic had a booking staff for years before, you know, they hit big. But it's one person can't do that, and we know that.
No.
It's hard to even do it by yourself in the territory days. You still had to have people you could depend on, like Ole did your dad.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard if you've been doing something the same way and things change, and it's hard for a lot of people to change with it. And I think that's the problem with Dusty and, you know, everybody that you mentioned, is that they came up in the business a certain way. They did everything a certain way. And when the business exploded, they were kind of like hanging on to the tail end of the business, trying to stay with it. And they couldn't get in front of it to actually guide it the way it needed to be.
Because when you think about it, look at the hours of television that you have to produce. Even WWE, when you look at the hours of television, we got Monday, which is 3 hours, right? The Raw's 3 hours. SmackDown is 2 hours. NXT is 2 hours, right?
Yep.
Plus, they have some syndicated programs as well, right?
Yep.
Some things
plus all those talk show things that they do that have to be plugged in with what's going on. So somebody's got to be, hey, you know, guys, this is who we need to be interviewing, and this is what the subject matter needs to be, because this is what is going to be happening, you know, when this hits the air. This is what's happening on TV. So, a tremendous amount of programming, and a lot of people have to be on the same sheet of music.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the reason when you look at their television, there's so much of the same thing going on each program. You will see something going on Raw, and almost the same exact things going on SmackDown. There's no two different things about it, and I think that, you know, Bill Dundee told us one time when we were that we needed to do a weekly TV show while he was booking Continental Wrestling, and we were working on that to get on the stage in Dothan, Alabama, and do a show weekly there, because that's the way that he said that we need to be able to do it. That even every other week he didn't really like. He wanted a TV every week, so if it didn't draw, he could just change it. And he said, what happens is when it don't draw, then we've got 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks that we're not going to draw. And he wanted to know let's do this show on Saturday. Let's play it on Saturday night. If that doesn't draw, I know the rest of the week ain't going to draw. The next week certainly ain't going to. I think that was the way that he understood the wrestling business.
Yeah.
And the way that from 1974 up to that point, which was 1989, I mean, that's the way he knew how to book wrestling.
Well, I remember Dutch talking about years ago, before he ever went up there to do the veteran deal, whatever it was he did up there. They had actually called him about becoming a part of the booking staff, and they wanted him to write out a 6-week program. Just pick 2 guys and write out a 6-week program, send it in, and they would review it, let Vince see it, and then if they approved, got the approval, that we're going to hire him. And he told them, he said, I don't do 6 weeks. And they said, well, that's the way we do it. And he said, I've never done it that way. He said, I do it. He said, I know where I'm wanting to go. He said, but I don't write it down. Because he said, if you write it down, then you can't change it. He said, so I go week to week. If what I'm doing in my steps to get to where I want to be, if they're working, then we'll do what I wanted to do the following week. And if it don't, then I'm going to change it all.
Yeah.
And that's what the lady was telling him. Said, we don't do it that way. You know, whatever we plan out, for the most part, that's the way it's going to happen. Doesn't matter how the crowd reacts to it. We're going to keep plugging along with it. So he just didn't submit to what they wanted and just let the opportunity go by.
I could see that. Rodney, can you not see that people? It, it, we always said if so and so wasn't getting over, we in Mid South Wrestling, we said Wendell Cooley was getting over, and he was getting over when he first came there, and they did the videos. Now there's a difference. Wendell Cooley got a video. Brett Armstrong never did.
Yeah.
But he got a video, and he they played the deal. He would come out, and he got over, and they killed him off when they put him as the new Rock and Roll Express with Al Perez. But you could see that, and if you knew if you push Wendell, he's going to get over. And I wanted them to push him, and they did push him till they did the Rock and Roll Express Juniors, and that was one of the worst I've ever seen. All right,
this particular, I hate to interrupt you, when you're on a roll like that, Brent, because I know it throws you off. But my question is this the time you were talking to Dusty that he has the Shockmaster?
No, this
was this when he had Paul Roma as a Four Horseman? Was this when he had a flair for the gold? Was this?
This was I was in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Yeah, I didn't go to those.
And I don't Medusa was there.
Yeah, this was when he did the ridiculous thing with Ricky Steamboat and Rick Rude, where he's cheating. Women are standing up all over the place. I've had his baby or whatever. And I'll just tell you, it comes down with everything. It comes down to talent. Okay, when Dusty went into the Carolinas the first time and they went to TBS, he brought in, look at the talent. The Midnight Express, the Rock and Roll Express. He had Nikita Koloff. He had Jimmy Garvin. He had Ronnie Garvin. He had all of this talent. When he came back this time, he brought us back Paul Roma and the Shockmaster. It's a talent situation. And when you cannot bring fresh talent in, you ended up dying. And that is in the end, what happens to every territory. What was the problem with Mid-South? It got to the point where it didn't have any talent. I'm sorry. But Ted DiBiase and Akbar for the next 3 years and the Freebirds for the next 3 years is just not going to cut it. It needs fresh talent. Why did they do so well in 84? All fresh talent. Terry Taylor, Midnight Express, Jim Cornette. You had Magnum TA. Of course, this time Dusty didn't have Magnum TA. He didn't have Barry Windham or James J. Dillon. And James J. Dillon somehow fits in very well in Dusty's booking staff, because if you notice things when Dillon was gone, so did Dusty's booking change. It changed.
Was he trying?
Now, don't get me wrong. He did a great job with Vader.
Was he trying to be with the times, basically, instead of Dusty booking the way Dusty should have been booking? Was he just trying to be with the times? What WWE was doing, and that's what he was trying to produce.
And I think that is just a failure on everybody's part, that they try to emulate what they see that works instead of trying to come up with their own way of things that work. It's easy to jump on somebody's coattails.
Sure.
And I think that, I agree with you. I believe that's what he was doing. Now, whether it was, fully engaged up here that's what he was doing or not, I don't know. I guess, he was just reading the tea leaves and going with it.
Regardless of however you feel about it.
He was with the chewing on the beetle nut.
Yeah. And the worst, the flair for the goal was an absolute disgrace. Not even the Shockmaster. Not the Shockmaster itself. That was just funny. I'm sorry, that was just funny. But the flair for the gold was the most, to me, embarrassing thing that ever could be. I mean, it was just with Fifi the maid. Somebody at TBS is going, "Oh, this is great television." I mean, and it could be that he was just. That's what TBS was asking for, and he was just giving it to them. I think, isn't that the part where they were doing the mini movies as well?
I believe so.
They were doing them at some point of that time. And Ole Anderson was over those.
Yeah, Sting. And what we found out is Sting is a great actor.
We
Read those lines there, Sting.
All right, let's see what everybody's got to say real quick. Richard Hood is with us. Richard, how are you doing? Well, if I can click on the button.
There
Richard,
we go.
Good evening, gentlemen. Let's see. Hasso, good evening to everyone. James Brown. Yes, we are on Facebook, James Brown. Oh, hi there. Let's see. I think he sent us a couple of there. So let's move on down to
He's
Hasso.
everywhere.
A billion. Well, between the dozens hankering for the video game and the Orange Cassidy merchandise, I think they're downplaying the actual numbers. Also,
When you have the man that's knocked you for 2 years now, all of a sudden you're champion, and at the 200th episode wants to bring everybody out to praise Tony Khan, there is something wrong. There is seriously something wrong.
can I ask y'all why y'all haven't brought me and said, hey, we've done our 3,000th podcast. Why didn't y'all bring a bunch of people out and
Honestly, I had you a cupcake, but I ate it.
Daniel Lang said, you're on Facebook. Glad to see Jack back. Hey, I'll tell you what, when we go to a new streaming service, we can have some trouble.
If we have a regular streaming service, we have trouble.
Yes, but the regular streaming service wanted to go up more than what this streaming service is, and then we get demonetized. Our great people in this world, we get demonetized, and so we can't. We have to pay for this somehow. Now it becomes harder. Let's see, James Brown. Let's see what he had to say. Okay, my question is for all three. Put your promoter and trainer hats on. Keith Lee, good wrestler? No. Jack?
I like Keith Lee. When he was in NXT, I thought he was great. When he got up to the main roster at WWE, I don't know what the issue was, but what I saw in NXT didn't come with him. Now that he is in AEW, and I can say this because I'm a big guy, but that must be one heck of a buffet they have. I think he has moments of greatness, but moments don't make you a legend. It just doesn't. You're just another guy on the roster when that happens. I think if he got serious, got in shape, it's impressive to see a big guy do a drop kick. But in today's world, it doesn't mean anything. Work like a big man. He's not doing that. He's got a lot to learn.
And simply more leg slaps in the match. That's what gets you over. In his case, don't do a leg slap. Do the Kamala belly flap.
Okay, he asked this question, Jack. How do you go about getting this guy over?
Make him get serious about his appearance. If I were doing it, I'd turn him heel. Yep. I'd make him a vicious, big man heel. Quit all the leg slapping, the coming off your feet, all that kind of stuff. And I would make him look like a monster.
In the realm of like a King Kong Bundy, one man gang.
Yeah.
Even Ernie Ladd. In that vein for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And quite honestly, I don't think whoever's directing him, it could be himself, they don't see the potential. They just don't see the potential.
Glad to see you back from Jack, from Jeff Dobbs. James Brown. I think Rodney could manage the new Midnight Express. Was good to see Dennis Condrey. So was he on AEW?
Yes.
Was he on the program?
Yes. From what I read, Dennis Condrey came out and declared as, is it FTR? Is that the team? As the greatest tag team in wrestling today.
Yeah.
Did he get a response?
That I would have to watch the show to get that information.
I just wonder if he got a
I,
response.
I'm just wondering if there was anybody in that crowd was even born, before he retired.
That's what I think. James Brown said instead of a tennis ball racket for Rodney, give him a pickleball racket. Who's the bearded dude? Scott Burke.
Santa
He's
Claus.
brand new. He's brand new.
Yep, I thought it was a good business. Preempt collision with SummerSlam. Wasn't worth watching the end of it.
Now I will say this: I did watch SummerSlam. I didn't watch it till Sunday, but I thought it was pretty good.
Jack, have you ever been to a backyard wrestling event?
I have been to what was advertised as professional wrestling events, only to find out that it wasn't run as well as a backyard wrestling event. So, I have stories that would be told. But no, never been to just an outside wrestling, backyard, whatever.
I used to have them. We had them before they were fashionable, didn't we, Rodney?
Yes, we did.
We had the whole neighborhood. We used to bring just a mat. We didn't have a wrestling ring. We just had a
And-
mat.
Yeah,
And when we were able to put that light bright up into the tree and hang it with the extension cord, we thought we had it on until the bugs moved in on us, the mosquitoes, and the moths moved in on us. We quit.
And we were tag team champions. Me and Rodney were the tag team champions. Once we got you in the armholes,
Right.
we got you down. You were never getting back up. It didn't matter how big you were not getting up. We would keep you down the whole time.
last Saturday, I wound up going to a show over in Florence, Alabama. I'd gone over to see my fiance, and her youngest son wrestles on that show. So we went, and a lot of those guys, especially in the management end now, were backyard wrestlers back in the day. And I kind of took them all under my wing and, tried to help them make that transition, because it's a mental thing more than anything. Because nobody in doing backyard understands what wrestling really is. So those guys listened to me. I think there was like 8 of them, and 7 of them wound up having a pretty significant impact on independent wrestling here in the South, especially in Alabama. So I was proud of those boys. And I went the other night. I'm not going to say that I loved every match, but the crowd did. And that's what's important.
That's right.
And they were into everything those guys were doing. It was well-paced, put together very well. A lot of surprise stuff that I didn't see coming, that really popped me, I guess you would say, and some great stories being told. So, backyard wrestlers get a bad reputation, but if they could ever get with a veteran who understands their hunger for learning the business and takes the time to teach them, those guys can be superstars.
And I think that we need to see more elbow drops off the roof of the house.
Yeah.
To them. I think that's all.
Let's remember the greatest star of AEW, John Moxley, started out in the backyard.
Did he?
Yeah.
Jimmy James says, "What's causing all this? I had trouble finding you guys. Glad I did. And that Jack is out of the box."
I'm out of the box. The
Hello.
cats were wanting to borrow the box. So I had to get out.
Scott Burke said Jack. Just Scott Burke. James Brown, the guy who does the Dutch Mantel podcast, said he wouldn't go to Wembley because it's so expensive to go to London. I heard that it's like $35 just to get into London. What the crap's that all about?
No.
I think you pay some kind of fee. Yes.
You're about to get canceled here, Brendan.
Hey,
You're going somewhere you don't want to go. They have a great the mayor of London is fantastic. I don't want to say anything about it, but you get canceled.
Hey, Dutch said, why don't they make them? He said, do they make you pay to get out of London? And he said, no.
Yes.
Well, that's an old joke in wrestling, make them pay to get out of wrestling.
That's right.
Let them in free, make them pay to get out.
Pay to get out. That's right.
And
Oh,
so
that's
shows I would have paid to leave.
That goes along with the, how do you make how do you become a millionaire in wrestling? Is you start with twice that.
That's right. That's exactly
Bishop
right.
Michael Nesby is with us. Good evening to the gurus of pro wrestling. Thank you so much. Jimmy James, so Mr. Hood and the rest of the Motley crew, sending only my very best from the maple syrup land with the Punk PM. What the crap?
I need some maple syrup.
Let's see. Well, I'm trying to go down. There it goes. What's your opinion on the MJF Adam Cole tag team? Did you know they were tag team?
I watched. Was it last week? Maybe it was the week before. Because I was hoping for a miracle that they had actually hired a booker or something. But when I tuned into that, I was just completely lost into what kind of story they're actually trying to tell. Now, on the other hand, those set in stone fans that they, same ones, no new ones, but the same ones, seem to be enjoying what was going on.
That's what's important.
Well, I understand that particular is it Collision. The ratings were up when they were on the main event on that show. So that's all I have to add to that. I'm sorry, but because I don't.
That was Dynamite. Collision's on the Saturday night. Yeah, I haven't watched that yet.
Okay, so they were. Was it? Well, okay.
James Brown said, can you get Les Thatcher? Les Thatcher is coming on with us on Friday. Rodney's going to interview Les Thatcher about Memphis wrestling in 1970, January, February, March. Les is going to go on, and Rodney's going to talk with him about his time in Memphis. We're going to start talking about Memphis wrestling and talking from January 1970 all the way until the run-in years, as we would like to call it. And see the difference. And I think that's what's going to be good about the Georgia Championship Wrestling and Memphis Wrestling going through those territories year by year. You'll see the changes in the booking and how it changed drastically, and maybe the reason you can see why they wasn't drawn, even though they'll go say it was cycles. It was just cycles of bad booking. I mean,
true, and normally a bunch of just terrible finishes and substitutions that also helps. Keeping the same talent around forever and ever and ever also doesn't help.
Yeah, we can get in touch with Les. I think Les and Charlie both will come on there, and
there'll be no need for any of us to be there. We'll just sit back here and just listen in and take notes.
Right, but it would be great because we have talked to them. They have been on here before, right? Didn't we have Charlie and Les on here before?
Seems like we did
together. I'm thinking we did, but
yeah, because they kind of took over the whole show, and we didn't have to say nothing.
That's the best one. Those are the best ones, really, because they have so much information.
Also, I believe most of Meltzer's thing is just being a simp for the elite as far as his AEW stuff goes.
I see. Well, that might be that could be it. And Aso might have pointed out something else, and we're not going there, but it's possible. And if Meltzer is hanging around the dressing rooms or out back after the matches and stuff, waiting for them to come out.
Meltzer is more than a groupie than a reporter. That's how I see it.
That's true. I think I'm with you. I'm with you because everywhere it looks, and especially once I saw that story where he admits to having Tony, supposedly admits to having Tony Khan's personal number, and he's texting him during the show. That leads me to believe he is in fact consulting.
Rick Brooks, hey guys, and all the fans from Northern Kentucky. Jeff Dobbs, he also said they are the greatest tag team of all time. The Young What? You got to be kidding me. Meltzer, you've seen Ole and Gene Anderson. You're telling me the Young Bucks, they're not even as good as the Monkeys. I'm sorry, they're not that good. I've watched their matches. I've tried to watch their matches. Okay, if you watch, and I don't know if y'all did this, and they said they're even better than the Hardy Boys. I watched one match of them. They were in a cage against two guys, and I don't even know, maybe some Spanish guys, some Mexican wrestlers. I was very impressed with the match. I thought, okay, this was good. It was well put together. Then I watched another one of their matches. And I'm thinking, well, I already saw that. I already seen that. I saw that in the last match. Then I watched another one of their matches. And I said, I already seen that in that match prior to that. And then I watched one of the matches, and they do the same formula match every time they get in the ring. So I can't say they're great wrestlers. They're great because everything they do is repetitive. And by the time I watched 5 or 6 of their matches on YouTube, I was bored. I don't know. I mean, am I wrong about this?
No, honestly, I didn't mind watching their matches from Japan because Japan don't do the repetitive stuff. They're going to make you do different, in every match, and I think that's why they Kenny Omega got such a reputation. They did have great matches over there, but here, you're right. It's just the formula. It's the same matches over and over. Nothing changes.
And that's where they're copying the WWE because most of their matches are exactly the same as well.
Yep. That's one of my big gripes about WWE is that, they take everybody to that training school to make them all learn to work alike. And what drew back in the territory days was there were so many different styles out there.
Variety, absolutely a variety.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sorry, but Dave, there's no way that you can tell me that the Young Bucks is as good as Ole and Gene Anderson. You can't tell me they were as good as the Midnight Express, the Rock and Roll Express, the Fantastics, Bobby Fulton, Tommy Rogers. Yeah, they wasn't great when they first started, but within 3 months, those guys had it together and knew what they were doing. You can't tell me they were as Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, the Rougeau brothers. Come on now, there's way more of it.
Jeff thinks we misunderstood what he was saying there. Jeff Dobbs. We'll get down to you. We'll straighten that. We'll straighten that out when we get down there.
Beat his.
That's right. They did. Yeah, if you haven't seen that video, and it looks like that the district attorney there is probably going to prosecute those guys.
Good.
I don't see they can. I don't see how they can because they would have to have somebody that would want to take have them arrested. The thing about I heard is that this guy previously came into the 7-Eleven 2 times before and robbed the place.
Goodness gracious.
2 times before. So the police obviously not doing their job, keeping him locked up, and they took care of it. I guarantee you that guy's not going back into the 7-Eleven again. He'll have to get his Slurpee somewhere else.
Omega is a goof, but I could have seen him do a program with Punk if someone with half a brain got the two together after some time passed. Yes, I think so too.
You see, half a brain's the problem. I remember, you remember those commercials, This Is Your Brain? And then they drop an egg down in it, and this is your brain on drugs. That's all you need to know. I would open the AEW show up with that.
Kirk said, "Good evening, guys. The Montgomery, Alabama brawl was crazy. Yes, it was. The group bought and paid for that butt whooping and got a receipt. Yes, and they deserve to get their tail whipped. They deserve to get a chair shot. Not a woman that deserved to get a chair shot. Everybody else deserved it. I can tell you that right now.
He was nailing everybody, and she got in the way and cut her too, huh?"
It was at a point. Well, Ricky Smiley does the deal and says, "Hey, he was interviewing the chair, and he said, listen, even all during this melee, you hit people with the chair." Could you tell me why you hit the woman that did nothing but just walk past and you? Well, she's just in the way. She's got in the way.
True, absolutely true. You watch
Have you
where
ever
you're
seen
watching.
where the guy has his board and he says, "Here's the F and here's the up," and that's when you know you've done that. Well, that was what happened to that. They definitely got what was coming to them. I tell you that right now. There must be a bar there. There must be a bar. Them people must all be drunk because I think that's not the first fight they've had on that dock. So they must have a bar up there that people drink.
You know who would know? Tommy and Johnny Rich.
Yeah, probably. Let's go get a bar. Hey, Jeff Dobbs, CM Punk lost in the final of Owen Hart Invitational Memorial Tournament, and he has a world title belt. He painted an X on. Oh, the NWO belt. Is that?
No, he's just saying it doesn't look as good as the Hogan's NWO belt. Punk still has the title from when he was the world champion. So MJF has another newer belt he represents.
And so that would make we have the world AEW world champion official, I guess, with Ms. JF, and then we've got the kind of real one with this would be the third one with CM Punk, and then we've got the one that actually Tony Khan wants, Orange Cassidy, as the international champion. International equals world, by the way. Just let you know. We need another world champion on there. So.
Hey, Richard said they did the TV CDF on Wednesday mornings at 10:30.
That's right. That is correct.
Don Wiggins is with us. How you doing, Don? Good to see you on here. James Brown, I don't know which talk show is excited about Miz TV or the Grayson Waller effect. He have a TV show now. He's got a talk show now.
You know, it's those talk show segments. Yeah.
And basically the Miz and Grayson BB Waller is doing the exact same thing. They're doing the same shtick, both shows.
Jeremy Richter, who booked the best episodic wrestling in Continental? Also, who changed the awesome red and blue canvas with stars to the simply blue? Well, probably, knowing the truth, it cost some money to get those stars put on that. On
the new Matt's canvas, it just wouldn't stay. It would start cracking and peeling off it wouldn't even last a show with that start coming off. And that changed they changed to those colors once it switched over to Continental Wrestling Federation.
Continental Championship Wrestling, you go watch those shows. Almost every one of them shows are tremendous shows.
They certainly are. Yeah, you can go all the way back to Southeastern. Just tremendous shows. Absolutely.
Yeah, they did some good stuff. 1989, probably not the greatest year for professional wrestling. There was a lot of problems. If I was going to say the Continental Cat, the General was probably the best thing we did during that point in time. But not a lot of good programs in 1989. Just sorry it wasn't. Mickey Mayfield. Brent, thanks for sharing images of the GCW Ringsider collection on my face. Brent brings back a lot of memories. Yes, almost every day, or at least once a week, twice a week, Mickey has sent us a bunch of programs, and I put them on our Facebook to share them with everybody. And thank you so much, Mickey, for sending them to me and letting us share those. Because a lot of them, we had, but they're just they're stuck together now. So we'll never be able to use them again. Why did Wendell go to Memphis as Rick Casey?
I would assume that they would think everybody would laugh when they found out his name was Wendell.
Well, did Scott Casey there in Memphis as well?
I don't know, but I think that was the association they were trying to make.
Yeah. So, I know that Scott Casey came to Continental for a while. You know what? To be honest with you, until I watched the tapes back, I didn't even realize he was there. I don't know where.
Well, I remember Wendell Cooley also went as Jimmy Randolph
Yes.
in Atlanta, and yes, it was Randy Rose and Jimmy Randolph.
Yes.
And once again, I think they have a problem with the name calling a man Wendell.
Rodney Dusty also got the Florida territory.
Sure did. I absolutely agree. I mean, you talk about Lex Luger, Barry Windham, all left. Ron Bass was there. I mean, there's nothing but one of the best programs ever was Barry Windham and Ron Bass. That was awesome.
I still haven't forgiven him for Lex Luger, but anyway.
Well, we try not to.
Don Wiggins, just because it works on TV does not always work on a live show. Yes, you're all right. It's the way it goes in the wrestling business. Jack told me the cupcake was good.
It's real good.
Well, I thought maybe had that cupcake. That's okay. It's okay. Daniel Lang, Wrestling Trivia Challenge. Brent, Rodney, and Jack, name the only team to be Florida Tag Team Champions and AWA World Tag Team Champions at the same time. The Road Warriors.
I'm gonna go with the Fabulous Ones. Maybe. I don't know. I really don't know. But that's my guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did the Fabulous Ones was they ever the AWA Tag Team Champions?
They were there. I'm just guessing, like I said.
Well, they didn't get over when they were in.
Well, as I watched it back in AWA, they had a pretty good response. I have to admit, I saw some of their stuff.
All right, Don Wiggins said he's found the new greatest manager of all time, Donnie J. Hampton. He's going to be the next greatest manager no one has ever heard of.
Okay.
I hope somebody hears about it. Hasso, could you imagine Ernie Ladd as an agent for AEW? He wouldn't last, but they gave Dennis a nice pop. Oh, so he did get a nice pop. Good to hear. And FTR paid proper tribute to him. FTR, great tag team, probably closest to an old tag team. And so when Dave Meltzer is talking about great tag teams, maybe FTR could be put in that, but I'm not really sure.
It could.
Modern era, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. Richard Hood. Jack, don't feel bad. I've also had some horrible shows. It's nothing worse than bad wrestling.
I'll never forget the show I went to, and they were nailing the ring apron onto the wooden ring. Oh, such a great night.
Oh my.
Let's see. Wait a minute. I think I missed somebody here. Let me go back here. Let's see. Yes, here. The audience might have been young, but anyone who listens to Cornette or other appropriate channels have looked up Dennis's work. Tremendous. Dennis Condrey, no matter where he was at, was a tremendous wrestler. I don't care where he went. Dennis Condrey was good. Dennis Condrey, Phil Hickerson, Dennis Condrey, David Schultz, Dennis Condrey, Bobby Eaton, Dennis Condrey, Randy Rose, Dennis Condrey, Norvell Austin. It doesn't matter. Dennis
was great as the Georgia Heavyweight Champion in Georgia as well. I said Georgia Heavyweight Champion in Georgia, like he was the Georgia Heavyweight Champion in Canada, which obviously they're going to have a U.S. title match next week in Calgary, WWE, but we're not going to talk about that. Go ahead.
Hey, did y'all know that Bret Hart was turned down as an agent in AEW?
I did know that.
He might not want to go to the after parties.
Don Wiggins is telling us that you need to pay to get out of New Jersey, and the commission there just instituted new rules for wrestlers and promoters.
Yeah, trying to run them out for sure.
I don't know why. I mean, is it money? I mean, why does it matter?
I don't know. We went through that here in Alabama for a long time, but we've got a new director in now, and he is absolutely great to deal with.
Let's see. I hope you guys can get Jerry Oates back on the show again. He was a good guest. Yeah, we'll bring him back on. Hopefully, we was not having too much luck on Mainstream trying to get people on.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll slowly, we won't make it. We'll bring our guest on prior and make sure they can get on before we'll ever advertise they're going to be on here. He was a guy, and maybe Brian. Who's Brian?
Yeah. You know Brian. You know, the luchador.
Oh, Brian Young.
Jimmy Booger.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, we'll try to bring him back on. I talked to him, and I did tell him once we make sure we can get people on here, and we don't have problems, we'll bring people. And Carl Fergie, I'd love to have Carl on.
Carl he's a riot. I love Carl.
And I talked to Steve Casey a few months back, and he wants to come on.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Don Wiggins says, I cannot say my feelings on the Melzer as this family-friendly show. Yeah, we'll get in touch with Jerry and see if Jerry will come back on, because we're going to soon start talking about Georgia, and he is showing up in Georgia 1970, so he would be a good person to talk to.
Exactly, because he was there when it was going on.
Yeah, so we'll ask him really while he was there who was booking, because I'm pretty sure Leo Garibaldi's booking until August, and I'm gathering after that Buddy Fuller takes over the book. But maybe not. I know Freddie Blassie also takes over the book there. So, Old Gray Wolf, Les Thatcher will take the hot tag and never tag back out. He has such a wealth of. If you're not utilizing Les Thatcher to go to your shows, teach you something. If you're a promoter, I don't care if the wrestlers will listen to him. You need to
Absolutely
get him sit down, pay him to come, spend 2 hours with you. You will learn more in those 2 hours than you will ever learn in wrestling. Les Thatcher did it all. And when I say that, he did it all in the wrestling business. Let's see, where was I at? Don Wiggins said, "Here it is, all about hitting the finishing moves."
Yes, absolutely.
Jeff Dobbs, Brent, it wasn't Melzer who said it. One of the Bucks said they were number one all time in heart. Oh my goodness gracious sakes alive! Do they believe this?
I have no problem with them saying that.
It's confusing whether they mean it or not, because they may in their mind be thinking, I'm just going to say this to work up for a match. But, that's like planning a match, and they don't do that there. So
that's true.
You just never know, where that came from.
Stuart Kemp is with us. Hello, all. Finally got on here. CAC coming August 28th through the 30th. Looking forward to seeing all there. Cribbage sign up Monday. Games Tuesday and Wednesday. Excellent. So if you want to get to that, August 28th and 30th, and I think they got a website, don't they, Jack?
They do. Yep.
I think you can find it put in the CAC, right? And it comes.
I don't remember, but we're living the dream right here.
Tim Truitt, how you doing, Tim Truitt? Been a while since we saw you on here. Just jumping on to say hi to you guys. It's been a while since the last on. Still an awesome show. Thank you so much. Let's see. James Brown, remembering the early Southeastern TV shows, Les Thornton versus Tony Charles matches, tremendous matches. Oh, I'll tell you who had good matches. Bill Dundee and Tony Charles. Bill Dundee and Robertson, Billy Robertson. Tremendous. Bill could have a match with anybody. He had any style. Bill Dundee had any style of match you could have. If you wanted to brawl, he could do it. If you wanted to wrestle, he could wrestle. Every style of wrestling, Bill Dundee could do. He doesn't get enough credit for the wrestling business. Jeremy says the greatest tag team in his mind is the Freebirds.
I think he's talking about AWA and Florida title.
Oh, it's the Freebirds. The Freebird.
Yes,
no, that's what he said. Yeah. That's his guess.
Daniel Lang said Bockwinkel and Stevens in the summer 1972 for 26 days. Did not know this. Jeff Dobbs also said the Road Warriors. That's just what I was thinking. It was the Road Warriors. Dennis Condrey was also great on the stick. Yes, he was. Jeremy, he was good at that. And Don Hester is late. Jack, you are here. Write him down for that $50 fine. The Bill Watts fine, $50 fine. Out of 10 on business, it doesn't matter. No excuses. Bill Watts would not allow no excuses. Well, there was a wreck on the interstate, and there was cows and pigs all over the place. He said, well, Bill Watts, so you should have just drove over them and got here. And Bill did not care why you were late. He says, sound like another great show. Welcome back, Jack. Good to see you, Don. Let's see. I'm a freaking historian. Bobby eating sweet brown sugar. Very underrated. Yeah, yes. Yeah. You know, I loved Coco Beware. I loved everything he did until he went to WWE.
Yeah.
I just didn't like his work there.
And Bobby told me that Coco was his favorite tag team partner out of all that he had. And he said, I've had great ones. But he said he gelled more, learned more from Coco than anybody else. And by the way, we just passed a few days ago the second anniversary of Bobby's passing.
Oh, wow.
Bobby was such a great guy. Mickey Mayfield, there was a USWA roadshow in Winder, Georgia. They had to stop in the middle of the match so someone could go into the parking lot to get a come along to hold one corner back on the mid. And well, that happened. That happens. Now I can't say we went to many shows where the ring just collapsed. So
the cables underneath broke, and so all the ropes just went all the way down.
Yeah, so that's happened. That's happened to everybody. I think if you were in the wrestling business any period of time, you had some ring malfunctions at some point. That's just part of it. Let's see. James Brown, get Bobby Simmons. I don't think Bobby Simmons will come on. I just don't think he will. Love his stories as well as Jerry O's stories. For some reason, I just don't see Bobby Simmons. Let's see, Mr. Hester, no excuses. Now drop and give us 20.
Right.
What I'm saying, you can't make no excuses. Bill Watts didn't hear them excuses. He didn't care what it was. Talent today don't know anything about wrestling of yesteryear. You know, that's sad though, isn't it?
Especially with the availability. Can you imagine what it would have been like when we were growing up if we'd had a YouTube out there with all this stuff on it? My goodness.
I wouldn't have time to sleep. I'd watch it all. I mean, every single bit of it.
I give it up now.
Evidently, also said they're in character, evidently, when they're saying the stuff they're saying. I mean, I guess we're talking about that.
I don't like their character.
Stuart Kemp said it is the cauliflower alleyclub.org. So I'll leave that up just for a minute so people can look at that and they can go to that and check that out. All right. Bill Dundee and Jerry Lawler had great matches, tremendous matches. So, some of the best matches that I'd witnessed. Not wrestling 2 Dick Slater matches.
And Bill and Jerry were never friends. As much as they worked together, they were not friends. But they knew how to make money.
Yeah. And made everything look good. Man, they made everything look good. I've seen Dundee and Charles also matches. Would love to see Dundee and Robertson. Bill Dundee had matches. When Bill was trying to put people over, wasn't that good. When he was just trying to make somebody look good. When he was trying to make himself get over, he was great. But I've seen him go against Hans Schroeder one time, and I've seen Bill Dundee have some of the greatest matches, and I've seen him have some stinkers. And that one with Hans Schroeder was a stinker. Stunk up the whole place. I can still smell it. It was that bad. But also some of the greatest: Bill Dundee, Dutch Mantel against Wendell Cooley, Perez in Monroe, Louisiana. One of the great best tag team matches I'd ever witnessed. I think they went like 30 minutes and had that place rocking and rolling. Hey, Don wanted to tell you the check is in the mail. So be looking for that. Be looking for that. That fine of $50. Final image of the week: one of the Bucks wearing the Watts North American title belt. Wouldn't he be covered up completely?
Well, I think there isn't there a women's championship based off that.
Oh, I don't know.
So I believe it is.
And one last, Don Wiggins said, too many wrestlers today are focused on themselves, and they do not realize that it's a team effort.
Yep.
Yeah, that is true. Jamie Dundee, underrated. You know, he was a good wrestler.
He was a good wrestler. Jamie still remains his worst enemy. And I like Jamie. Don't take that out of context. I'm saying anything that he and people that know him don't already know.
Yeah. Daniel, Mickey Mayfield said, I saw a picture of Facebook with El Mongo versus Nick Bockwinkel. Would love to see that match. We're talking about that. If you've not watched the Georgia Championship Wrestling stuff on YouTube, we're talking about it right now. So get over there and look at those January, February, March, and April. I think we've already done. So get over there and look at that. Rodney, you got double F's to trivia. Fabs never held either title.
Well, at least I was given the benefit of the doubt, and I understand why they wouldn't.
So there's that.
I was trying to be generous.
I'm guessing Road Warriors being North American champions. Let's see. Stuart Kemp, back in the days, you didn't need to be 6'6", Proof of Bill Dundee and others. We used to salivate over the magazines. They really made Gerald Lawler a star on those magazines.
Mm-hmm.
It really did. And I did not see Cassandra Golden. I forgot all about that. I am going to look at that tonight before I go to sleep. And but I forgot all about it. But I will look at Cassandra Golden, and we'll look at that on the next show. And Jeff Dobbs saw a house show on Sunday, 3 hours. After 2 hours, people started leaving. Agree with the scholars. You cannot have long matches. We've done it, and people leave. They won't.
Dad said it to us years ago. Over 2 hours, they'll simply just get up and walk out. So don't do it. Just don't do it.
All right, Rodney, before we leave, what's your final comments?
Well, no, I have several final comments.
All right, fine.
We've got several of them. First of all, Brian Pillman Jr. I think related somehow to Brian Pillman, I'm assuming. He is now apparently going to be going to the WWE. He's going to be showing up at NXT, from what I understand. My question is, didn't his organization have the WWE sued? Have I missed something? Or did he not meet? Is Major League Wrestling, don't they have them sued for?
He didn't come from Major League Wrestling. He come from AEW this time.
Okay.
He left MLW. He was at AEW for a couple of years. His contract expired.
Okay.
And so now he's where he's at.
Kevin Sullivan, I saw a headline said Kevin Sullivan's least favorite aspect about AEW. And I thought he would be offended by too many low blows. But no, he just thinks that they just need to have two announcers. Same, almost two things on there. Right. Ryback is going around telling everybody that Vince is trying to call him. He's be getting calls from Connecticut. And I'm just going to tell you there, Ryback, it's just them people concerned about your warranty on your car. So don't get excited about Vince trying to call you or anything. I don't think that's going to happen. Last but not least, I'm very concerned about Wardlow. Had a report last week that he is very, very depressed after being off the AEW TV. And I'm very concerned about that myself. And anybody needs to reach out. If you know Wardlow, reach out to him. He's depressed about being off the show. And so we need to send our best wishes out to Wardlow for his depression. That's terrible, being off AEW TV. And I send my regards to him and Just hope you're good.
Rodney goes to hell. We don't know. Hey,
Out of everything you can say, I'm depressed because I'm not on TV. What in the world are you talking about, man? Go get your contract broke and get out of that sinking ship. They haven't treated you right since you've been there. Not that you're very talented, but still, nonetheless, at least maybe WWE can possibly do something with you. There is raw talent there. You just need to learn how to do your interview. That's about it. But my goodness, going on there. He's depressed because he hasn't been on TV. I would take it as a blessing and stay off that train wreck. Oh, come on. Upset about that.
Richard Hood said, where are Kevin Von Erich's sons wrestling at?
They're working. They're just free agents right now.
Hey, the Iron Claw movie is a complete, I believe, right?
Coming out December 22nd, I believe.
I believe it's going to be a good movie.
I think so.
I believe it'll be
Also,
good. Something just fell over here. I'm not for sure. I hope the ghost
Yes.
just.
yes.
Jeff Dobbs says that he thinks they're in Hawaii. They're not. They've all actually moved back to Texas, including Kevin.
Oh, there we
Well,
go.
Hasso's saying the MLW lost their case. Anyway, I think it's what he means, but he said last I saw, and I think he said means lost. Nick Aldis was seen at WWE as well, from what I understand. Your favorite, Nia Jax, possibly coming back to WWE. I know you're waiting forward to that.
Well, I'm telling you, she's the best excuse to ever go get something out of the refrigerator ever put in the ring.
Well, we'll make sure to get you an autographed picture so you can hang on your wall, and that'll be so much excitement there. And Booker T thinks Brock Lesnar needs to get the Worker of the Year award for SummerSlam, and everybody's shocked that Cody and Brock Lesnar went off script to shake hands after the match. If you really believe that, people, I got some beachfront property. I'd like to
Had
say
a
about here.
discussion with a guy about that last night.
Moron people. They only do what they're told. They no, it doesn't. Like and then Cody's probably going around, and you know what he's done. He just felt like he saw my sacrifice. And now, just like I've got Dusty across my man boob here to be close to my heart, I'm going to put Brock Lesnar's tattoo of his lips on my rear end so that he can be reminded every time he sees me. Well, that's true. He is the most pretentious, unbelievable. He is full of himself. I can't wait till he does the interview. How he has far surpassed his father. Oh, Dad would only have wished to have been on a crowds like this. If only he would have been here to see me, he would have been jealous. I can't. Can you imagine what living with that's like? He has to get up every morning and ask his wife, do I look fat in these pants? Is my hair out of place? Tell me how good I am today, please.
Jeff Dobbs said, kissing a little butt. All right.
Oh, I can't believe it. Anyway.
hey, Brock Lesnar tattoo is what I'm a freaking historian said. All right, Jack. Do you have anything else? Right?
Wait a minute. I possibly. Let me see. For those of you who want to know, Paul Heyman has said this, and I'm going to be very clear about this, especially the Cody fans, probably all you tonight as well. Roman Reigns will lose the title when he gets ready. Okay. And Paul Heyman said it. And I believe him. He'll lose it when he's ready to. And
Well,
I'm ready to get off here.
That's the only good thing about WB is the bloodline. So there you go. All right, Jack, anything you want to talk about before we go?
Just that Endeavor officially takes over WWE next month.
And from my understanding, Kevin Patrick may be in the unemployment line because they want Michael Cole on both shows. I like
Indeed.
Kevin. He gets excited and he does that fake yell. He's like, let me give you an example.
Well,
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. They've hit him with a chair. No, the steps are being used yet again. It's terrible. It's terrible. The chair, the steps. It's a surprise. We've got to get out of here. He's like doing the whisper yell. Have you noticed? He's brilliant.
Well, maybe
Uh-huh.
you don't
They want Michael
interfere
Cole
with
on
the
my place.
fans sitting behind them.
and Fox has turned down the negotiated price that WWE wanted to continue SmackDown. They wanted a 50% increase over what they were paid previously, and they have not, they have not drawn enough for Fox to even make the money back from the first deal. So they're not going to up that price. And I know what that is, and we do too, is that they're pricing themselves out of business. They don't want to stay on Fox. They've got other deals worked out privately that, you're not going to miss an episode of SmackDown. But no, take that any way you want to, good or bad. But, they got stuff in place.
I guarantee you when they say we want 50% more, by the time the people at Fox stopped laughing, they got up and left. You want how much? You're serious? Okay. Yeah, we're not doing that.
Well, I think they
come
are
on now. That's ridiculous.
less fans, more money. That just makes no sense. Thank you so much. We appreciate everybody being a part of Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. Last 3 months now, we've reached 10 million people on Facebook. 10 million different accounts, not just repeat people. 10 million people, different people, have come to our Facebook account. And thank you so much for being part of Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. Also,
Hey, Jack, Mickey Mayfield wants to know if you have made a threat. Have you threatened him in any way today on the program?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Richard Hood asked this question, and then we'll get off of here. Guys, what would you say was the most embarrassing moment in wrestling? I'm going to say Shockmaster has to be up there at the top.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. And he's such a great guy, too.
Yeah. He's always.
Yeah.
Anything involving Van Hammer.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Don Wiggins said the Gobbledygoobler. Hey, listen, the Gobbledygoobler was great until we found out that it was actually the Gobbledygoober. Hector Guerrero was the Gobbledygoobler. I don't.
You talk about laying an egg, boy. That was the biggest leg egg laying I've ever seen.
It was a great build up to nothing.
Great build up to nothing. That's exactly right.
I told Hector one time, I said, I don't know why they didn't turn you as a heel. You could have been the heel Gobbledygook because they didn't like you anyway, so you might as well have cost somebody a title.
And then he could go around being the big pecker of the place.
Red Rooster had that one.
That's right.
Really bad.
I have 5 worse than Mr. Oppen. Ready for next week. Okay.
I will have to tell you this. Terry Taylor's the one that made the Red Rooster not good. I mean, why didn't he go with it? Dusty Rhodes went with the polka dots and still got over.
All you have to do is say Terry Taylor and enough said. That's all you had to do is say Terry Taylor and enough said. He said Mickey Mayfield says Brad Armstrong is the Candyman. Yeah, they were just desperate. Yeah. They should have broke. I would have let Brad break loose. Unbelievable.
Hey, Tigers. Cat Hat said the actor winning the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. What was his name? What was the guy's name?
I know who you're talking about.
David Arquette. Was his name?
David Arquette, yeah.
David Arquette was a big wrestling fan. and he didn't want to win the title. Now,
No, he did not.
Jimmy James says Titus,
and that demeaned it. That demeaned it.
Yeah, that was funny. Y'all ever see that going right underneath the ring? That was good stuff. Did you say Zeus?
Zeus, Mickey Mayfield was Zeus was. I have a question about these people coming from outside the wrestling business and being successful in it. Being successful in their opening match. I understand why WWE does it, but is it any way of taking a bunch of amateurs off the road and beating an NFL team, any NFL team? I don't think so. I just don't think it can happen. I think it demeans their wrestlers when they do it. And we've seen it multiple times where actors, I think Stephen Amell came in and beat Cody Rhodes. People didn't notice it because they said Cody who. And then we had Logan Paul.
Who was Killer Stroh the Carnage?
The same Clown Posse. I'm not sure I know him. I'm not sure. There was also Oz. Oz was very good. You remember him?
He said he was.
Vinny Vegas.
We better get off it here. We were an hour and a half.
The Ding Dongs.
To Ding Dongs. They could have been heels. I don't know why they didn't turn them.
Yeah, away from that gimmick, two great guys, heck of a tag team. But when you're
they could have hit people with that bell. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, ring that bell. Whew.
Thank everybody for being a part of Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. We'll see everybody next week right here on Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. And we have no ending video, so just sing on yourselves. There you go.